What's going on, guys, and welcome on in. Today I want to talk about the 4 units you see at this table. 2 of them being on this week's Raid Up banners, that's Ervalen and Krau. And I don't want you guys to forget about the 2 units next week, Rwana and Charles, because I think all 4 of these units are amazing. Mid to high tier. But I want to focus on each and every one, kind of break down my thoughts on them, how I think they'll perform for new to mid game players, as well as how they rank up in terms of whether or not you should pull. Okay, so I'm going to rate all of them, give my thoughts on each and every individual hero, and let's break it down. First up, we got Ervalen, who just came out yesterday. He's been out maybe a little over 24 hours now, so still too early to truly tell, guys, but I will say right now he looks very promising. The multipliers look good, his damage looks good, his kit is very, very nice. I can already tell he's going to be a solid unit overall. We still haven't seen how good he'll exactly be in RTA, because I think his closest comparison would be Remnant Violet. I think Remnant Violet overall for at least RTA is still probably a better pick, so if you have Remnant Violet, you may not need Ervalen. If you don't have Rylet, and you want a unit that's sort of good versus this high tanky HP bruiser knight meta, Ervalen could be your guy, alright? Despite his looks. Because I know a lot of people don't really like him that much. But his kit is very good. Okay? The PvP potential looks promising. I just think the lack of survivability, like compared to Rylet, for example, may not be good enough. But I'm already seeing a lot of people test him, and I do think he shows a lot of promise. His kit is absolutely busted. He has counterattack. The only survivable he has is barrier, but it could be good enough given enough attack. The fact that you kind of want to build him less HP and his defense is already very low is a little bit worrisome. But the fact that his S2 also has CR, his S2 is super unique, and his S1 has a 2-turn defense break, he looks very, very promising. So, one more time, if you don't have Rylet, I think Ervalen could be a good pickup. Let's talk about his PV potential as well. He's looking to shape up to be one of the easiest to gear one-shot units for Banshee and Asmonak. Okay, so if you ever plan to do any one-shot style comps and you maybe missed out on Baiken, or if you don't have, or if you have a Yufine and Watcher Shuri that maybe are a little bit too strict on gearing, Ervalen could be very good for you. His unique HP scaling differential skill set allows his one-shot potential to be very easy to gear and yield high damage. That being said, guys, for a new to mid-game player, I don't think he is a must-pull at all. Let's first start with PvP. He's going to have very, very high gear requirements, so a lot of players will just unfortunately have to keep him on the bench, because until you get enough stats to run him properly, he's probably going to be underwhelming. You need both speed, damage, and then of course you need enough bulk to live past, to live into his initial S3, and hopefully live long enough so that he gets value out of his counter set as well. In terms of the one shot, I also don't think that's very good for new to mid game players. Don't take too much stock into the one shot comp. I do think it's fun, it's flashy, it's very fast, but let's be honest, we're all capped on energy leafs and skystones anyways, so unless you're trying to cram a million hunts into a hunt 24-hour hunt buff event, there's really no point to one shots, especially as a new player. Just do the standard comps, improve the timing. And I think even I don't run any one-shot comps at this point. I don't think it's really needed. It is nice, and I guess if you do plan to run that in the future, if you know you want to do that sort of quick runs, then go ahead and pick him up, especially if you missed out on Baiken. But overall, guys, I'm going to rate Ervalen near the bottom of the 4 units here. I don't think he's a must-pull at all. He's not limited. Keep that in mind. But if he fits that playstyle for you in PvP, I will tell you right now, the numbers look very, very promising, okay? He's too new to tell, and the other 3 units I'm going to talk about are tried and true, and I will rate at least 2 of them higher than Ervalen, alright? So let's go to the next hero we got. The other unit on the rate up this week is Krau. Now, I've made a lot of videos on Krau, guys. If you missed one of my last ones, I still rate him as one of the must-pull RGB, red, green, blue element units in the game. Now, you might hear a few people say Krau is sort of falling off in RTA. They're not wrong, but that's only at the highest levels of play in RTA. And even then, I still see him drafted a lot, and I still think he's absolutely insane. He's a monster on Arena, Guild Wars, offense and defense. And he still has a lot of RTA potential as well. Now for PvE, maybe not the best unit, but always good if you're lacking knights or need a defense up, an Aureus holder, anything for the front line. Krau can do very well. I use them in a lot of early hell raids. I still use them in my fire expedition. I think Krau is just one of the most versatile units. His kit is so synergistic. The fact that he can just soak up damage and it synergizes with his S3 nuke. There's no one else in the game like that so far. And I think just every player can make good use of him, regardless where they're at in the game. New to mid-game players, he's going to be a godsend for your account. So if you're missing Krau, please pick him up. I'm going to go ahead and rate him as the #1 pick in this 4-hero lineup, alright? Krau is my #1 pick for both PvE and PvP. After Krau, we have, next week up, we got Rwana. Now, Rwana was actually a contender for the #1 pick. A lot of people in my chat, on my live streams, actually thought she may be better for new players over than Krau, but I'm going to rate her as #2. I'll tell you that right now. Let's start with PvP. In PvP, if you ever plan to take RTA in a semi-competitive to competitive level, like seriously than just, more serious than sort of just bumbling around, you will want a Rwana, okay? She counters, the main thing she counters, of course, is Seaside Bologna, and don't let anyone fool you. Seaside Bologna is still one of the biggest threats, and having Rwana as a backup, even if she always gets banned, is still very, very good, okay? That means that's one less unit that you have to worry about getting banned. And if they ever let the Rwana through and your opponent has an SSB, it's almost always gonna be a win for you. He shuts that down. She shuts down other units like Alencia, Lilius, Broman. She's very good in the PvP meta currently. Relatively easy to gear. As you can see here, I kind of just have some basic gear and she works just fine. You can go the route of getting more ER and kind of getting her even better stuff, but I think as a just counter unit, she can work well budget. Now for PvE, she's going to make Hell Raid an absolute breeze, alright? I think one of the hardest things in Hell Raid is the Queen, and Rwana at level 50, I don't even remember if I had full awakenings or not, and free gear, I was able to auto Hell Raid very easily. Now, I don't think as a new player, you may not be able to auto because the rest of your units may not have the best gear quality. But keep that in mind. Even at level 50, she can tank up the Queen and keep your party healthy. Amazing, amazing unit. She also comes with Touch of Rakos, which is an added benefit. I didn't talk about the other artifacts. Ervalen's artifact, not too good. Krau's Holy Sack, can be good. But I think the real winner here is going to be Rwana's Touch of Rakos, alright? It's something I need to fish for also, and it's just a very, very versatile Soul Weaver artifact that you probably want to get at least one of, if not multiple. So Rwana is going to be #2 on the list for both PvE and PvP. Please pick her up, guys, if you don't have her yet. But Krau, I think, gets the slight edge. Now let's talk about the 4th unit on the list. We have Charles. I'll go ahead and tell you I'm rating Charles. Let's just go ahead and rate Ervalen and Charles tied for 3rd and 4th, because I think with the way I'm grading these units, they sort of have the similar fallbacks. Meaning the main thing that I would advise players to pick, the reason I advise players to pick Krau and Rwana first is because you will get a lot more value out of them, even with budget and free gear. Charles, just like Ervalen, unless you have a ton of high quality gear ready for him, because he's super greedy on stats, he's probably going to be benched for a while. Also, if you don't have an Elbrus Ritual Sword, you may not want to pick up Charles yet. There are speed builds, and if you're running him, if you plan to use him as your Banshee Cleaver, of course, you can just run something like Portrait, and it could work just fine. But if you want to have Charles' real PvP potential for Arena or Guild War defense, where he still stays as one of the probably top dog units there, you need Elbrus Ritual Sword to unlock his full potential. Now, the reason I rate him as 3rd or 4th is because a lot of you've heard this before. I mentioned in my other video as well. Charles has definitely fallen off, at least in the RTA scene. The main reasoning being because he's very RNG reliant. On good days, he will absolutely decimate your opponents. He will proc every smash into S2. He will Elbrus every single time, and he will just absolutely destroy. On a bad day, he sits there and does nothing and then just dies, where another unit in his spot could have been much more reliable. So a lot of players kind of opt for that reliability, and you can't blame them. It feels really bad when he sort of just does nothing. And then of course it feels really good when he pops off as well. But that unreliability is why he's fallen off when there are other more stable options. That being said, I think if you like Charles, if you've ever seen him played and you've seen him pop off and you want that for yourself, go ahead and get him. Another added incentive, guys, is next week the Epic Pass is going to include Charles's skin, which is like Vampire Hunter Charles. He has a cloak on. Maybe, let's see if I can pull up a picture for y'all. So that's an added benefit. Like I said, he does have a little bit of PvE potential in terms of like a lot of players use him in Banshee. I have seen players run him outside of counter set and even outside of Elbrus as a fast attack up cleave style unit to sort of buff your team and go early. So I do think he's a unit that can pop in and out of the meta. Let's say even with his unreliability, if you see a lot of ice units being drafted, he's a nice pick to have just in general. But overall, I do have to rate him 3rd or 4th with Ervalen, Krau and Rwana as 1st and 2nd. But do not miss out on Charles, especially if you want the skin and if you just like his style. That swagger, that Charles, that old man, correct your posture swagger, definitely pick him up because his skin's coming out and this could be your best chance at getting him for a long while. All right. Anyways, guys, let me know how you think. If you think any of these units should be moved around in the list. Actually, also let me know, guys, what do you think about Ervalen, his character? Do you like him as a character? In the story, I feel like they made him super strong because if they made him weak, no one would pull for him because he's kind of a jerk. He's kind of unlikable, but I do think he has a lot of potential as a just in terms of power levels. All right. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you can, hit that sub and like button. It really goes a long way. Stop by my Twitch channel when you can. I'd love to see you. Let me know you came here from YouTube. And other than that, guys, I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you again. Peace out, everybody.